How did you feel when you saw this lawsuit that made it seem as if perhaps Diddy and Meek Mill had?
Why would they not have sex when they're gay rappers?
Do you think Meek Mill's gay?
We all know he's gay.
The moment he said it, I was like, oh wow, this is crazy. Seriously, I couldn't believe it. And then you've got Orlando Brown out here dramatically acting out the alleged sounds he claims Diddy and Meek Mill were making during their private moments. And honestly, it was so over the top that I couldn't stop laughing. But beyond the humor, things took a wild turn because Orlando didn't just leave it there. He's reportedly doubling down on those same explosive claims, once again calling out Meek Mill and linking him to what he described as Diddy's so-called inner circle, which he even labeled as toxic. He went further, suggesting that Meek's past relationship with Nicki Minaj somehow pulled her into that situation too, implying she was affected just by being connected. The whole situation is messy, controversial, and definitely has people talking nonstop. And what makes it even more shocking is that he's still standing firmly on his claims, insisting that whatever Meek allegedly carried actually traced back to Diddy in the first place. Then you've got those bizarre moments where Orlando starts going off, reenacting things in such a chaotic way that it leaves people both confused and entertained at the same time. But the story doesn't stop there. Nicki Minaj has also been rumored in the past to be one of the recognizable faces linked to those so-called tapes Diddy was allegedly collecting after his infamous private gatherings. Some even speculate that during the time she and Meek were together, they may have both been part of that same environment. There are wild claims floating around about a tape supposedly sold on the darknet for an outrageous amount, allegedly featuring multiple high-profile celebrities. Names like Nicki, Rihanna, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, and Drake have been thrown into the mix, painting a picture of a night that was anything but ordinary. And by now, many people believe those parties weren't just about luxury and celebration. They were about influence, control, and moments that could be used later. When authorities got involved in Diddy's case, reports mentioned some unsettling discoveries at his properties, including large quantities of supplies and even weapons, all allegedly tied to these gatherings. Details from legal filings described how these events were organized, with everything from substances to specific setups being part of the environment. Cassie also spoke out, claiming that the physical toll from repeated participation in such events affected her health severely, even to the point where common treatments stopped working. Then there's Clayton Howard, who later came forward with his own accusations, dragging both Diddy and Cassie into court, alleging manipulation and serious health consequences after his involvement. His claims painted a disturbing picture of what allegedly went on behind closed doors. All of this adds fuel to the idea that Orlando Brown isn't just speaking randomly, at least in the eyes of those who believe there's some truth buried in these stories. Meek Mill, often mentioned in these conversations, has strongly denied everything, brushing off the accusations as attention-seeking claims. Still, people point to moments that keep the rumors alive, like photos of him and Diddy appearing unusually close, even matching outfits, and certain videos that circulated online before seemingly being wiped. But as we all know, once something hits the internet, it rarely disappears completely. There were also claims from a property manager who described unusual and highly secretive arrangements whenever Diddy hosted Meek, including strict privacy measures. According to that account, what was left behind after one of these parties was described as chaotic and disturbing, raising even more questions about what really happened during those nights. Adding to the speculation, a lawsuit from Lil Rod mentioned two unnamed celebrities, one described in a way that many immediately linked back to Meek Mill. Despite everything, Meek has publicly rejected the allegations, even speaking out about how damaging rumors can be. But no matter what he says, Orlando Brown remains completely convinced of his version of events. And the truth is, he's not the only one pushing these claims. Others have echoed similar stories, keeping the controversy alive and the conversation going. Then there's Jaguar Wright, who has also stepped forward in the past with claims that Meek Mill was among several artists allegedly being exploited in the industry under the guise of mentorship by powerful figures. What's interesting is that she was making these statements long before the current wave of accusations surrounding Sean Diddy Combs even surfaced, which has led some people to revisit her words with a different perspective. According to her, there were moments where certain artists appeared desperate to escape those environments, while others remained entangled in situations that raised serious concerns. At the same time, Orlando Brown has continued to stir controversy by dragging even more high-profile names into the conversation, including Will Smith. His statements have been intense, chaotic, and at times difficult to follow, but one thing is clear: he hasn't held back. Orlando has repeatedly spoken about alleged behind-the-scenes behavior in the music industry, claiming that what happens privately is far darker than what the public sees, and he has remained consistent in linking both Meek Mill and Diddy to those claims. Lately, the situation has escalated even further, with Orlando doubling down and now attempting to tie Nicki Minaj into the narrative. During an interview on No Jumper, he made bold and controversial accusations, suggesting that Meek may have negatively affected Nicki during their relationship. He even went as far as claiming he had personal confrontations with her over these alleged issues, describing tense moments that, according to him, nearly escalated into serious conflict involving her team. As expected, these claims have sent shockwaves across social media, with people debating whether this is just another instance of Orlando's unpredictable behavior or if there's something deeper beneath it all. His history of erratic interviews and public struggles has only added complexity to how people interpret his words. In fact, his appearance on Dr. Phil raised concerns when he openly discussed personal battles, including addiction and mental health, while also showing signs of confusion during the conversation. Because of this, some observers believe his outbursts may stem from unresolved trauma rather than pure fabrication. There's a growing perspective that if Orlando did witness troubling aspects of the entertainment world, his current behavior could reflect long-term psychological effects rather than simple attention-seeking. Others, however, remain skeptical and see his statements as inconsistent and unreliable. Still, the ongoing tension between Nicki Minaj and Meek Mill keeps fueling speculation. Their breakup was anything but quiet, filled with public arguments, social media clashes, and lingering hostility that never fully faded. For many, it always felt like there was more beneath the surface than just a typical relationship ending. Now, with these resurfaced allegations, some are questioning whether those conflicts were rooted in something deeper. At the end of the day, this entire situation sits in a gray area. It could be another episode of Orlando Brown making shocking claims, or it could be fragments of a larger story that hasn't fully come to light yet. Either way, it has people talking, questioning, and trying to piece together what's real and what's not.